Thank you so much for making time. Yeah, I see you. I don't see you locally. I should, find out when is your next plane, because you're always all over the world traveling.
What can I say? Somebody's going to do it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Selekane. Just a brief intro for those who, have been in a coma for a long time. They don't know you, because and I know that it's brief because I know you can go on, but just a brief intro.
I'm a DJ from Thembisa. What black coffee? What's up? Well, I'm. It's kind of difficult to always give a one-liner or a paragraph, but I'm basically a professional speaker. I've been doing this for 25 years. Officially, I'm the highest designated professional speaker on the continent. I'm a best-selling author. Yes, and I'm a student of life. I'm consistently finding wiser men and wiser women through which I could drink from their well of wisdom. And I also have got a curious mind. I always ask the question, why? I never accept things at face value. So yeah, I'm a curious young man from Thembisa.
So, I know this, we'll come to this number one, what? You have shared stages with some of the, renowned global...
No, they have shared the stage
with you. Okay, excuse me. The other way around. So who has had the privilege to share stage with you?
The late Zig Ziglar. I don't know if you guys know Zig Ziglar. One of the top in the world.
Yes.
Les Brown. Dr. Nido Kubeni, who actually was my coach for some time. I've worked with Lisa Nichols. I've worked with Frank Furness from the UK. I've worked from guys in Singapore. I've worked from guys in Japan. So I've worked in over 32 countries around the world. Yeah.
Wow.
With one of the greatest speakers in the world. Yeah.
Okay.
I've always been hanging around these guys.
Awesome. And you were where? Australia?
Yeah, I had a tour of Australia actually.
Okay. So as Black Coffee is doing his thing, you're also doing your thing.
Actually, quite honestly, we opened ways for Black Coffee, but very quietly.
Yeah.
And it's just a fact, I started doing this international thing back in 2001.
Yes.
So I've been around for quite some time.
So let's talk about this number one renowned what. Who certifies this? Because I think there's a war.
I think now we must solve this thing. So I'm going to give you a lay of the land.
Yes.
The speaking industry's got two wings or two milieus. One is amateur and the other one is professional. But the professional was given birth to by the amateur wing. The amateur wing is the Toastmasters, which operates in over 80 countries. It's over 100 years old. And then there's the Professional Speakers Association of different countries, which fall under the GSF. GSF is Global Speakers Federation. So all the countries belong to the federation. So in the USA, some guy from the Toastmasters realized that it was limiting them. They wanted to become professionals and help each other to grow their business. And Toastmasters was not giving them that. So they started what's called NSA, National Speakers Association of America. It was started by a guy called Cavett Robert. And their mission was to get professionals together, help them to get the game up into the next level. So Toastmasters have got national, regional, and international competition. We've got a guy, Jabu Mangana, he was one of the guys that won internationally. So that's the amateur side of the speaking. Then there's the professional side. The professional side, so the amateur side, they've got designation as well. Their biggest is DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster. But the professional side, so in the US, they came up with what's called a CSP. CSP stands for Certified Speaking Professional. It's almost like a master's in speaking. Less than 8% of global professional speakers have that designation. Less than 8% globally. And then each country then create their own local flavor of a particular award, which is called Speakers Hall of Fame. In the USA, they call it CPAE. In South Africa, they call it Speakers Hall of Fame. In Australia, they call it the same thing. So you've got the international one, which only 3 countries can give a CSP. It's the US, and then Canada, and then Australia. Now, every association then creates the Founders Award, an award named after the person that founded it, taking tradition from the American who have a covered, award. So in South Africa, we've got 3 from the local South African chapter. We've got the South African Educators Hall of Fame. We've got the South African Speakers Hall of Fame. And then we've got the SDP, which is the Steph du Plessis Founders Award. Now, these 2 are the official bodies in the world that designates people. So now I'm answering your question. But these two designate you. So I never knew about Toastmaster until quite late in my life. Actually, the only time I knew about them is when they called me and they told me I was nominated for an award. And I thought, oh, this is very cool, but how, And they told me how it happened. Then I went to Cape Town and I was given this award. So I was given what's called, in America, they call it the Golden Gavel. But in South Africa, they call it the Communication and Leadership Award. It is the highest award to get given to somebody who's not a Toastmaster, but who's done a lot of work in leadership and communication space as an honor to that person. Raymond Ackerman has won, and quite recently, which is amazing, Wilson B. Ngosi has also been given the same award. So I got that from Toastmasters. Now, from the Professional Speakers Association of America, I got my CSP, the Certified Speaking Professional, in 2012. I was the first African to receive it from the continent. And then in South Africa, I got inducted into the Speakers Hall of Fame. And then I got inducted again in the South African Speakers Educators Hall of Fame. So, and then in the US, in the speaking world, they've got an award called the Expy, EXPY. It's an equivalent of an Oscar in the speaking industry. In 2014, again, I was the only African that was given that award. So if you take all my designations and awards, Continental, I'm the only person that has those awards.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as my 2000 would say, you are the GOAT.
Well, that's what they say.
All right. Okay. Let's get into, there are so many stories.
Yeah.
Right. And Alfie's on my case. Right. Being where you are definitely was not easy.
It's not even easy today.
Yeah. And I'm definitely sure there are a whole lot of other things that happen behind the scene that we don't know about. When we see you on stage, we think, you have everything together. But we don't know that there's a chance that, there was a guy who was giving a talk. I don't know if you've heard the story. I can't remember who, Hector, I can't remember. He says, as he was giving the talk on stage, the guys by the bank came to repossess his car. Right. As he gets on stage, he sees them there at the bank. and he's supposed to motivate people. And the car what things that people don't know that you've been through,
Well, I've been through the same car story, the black man and BMW thing. How do you know a black man is making it when he drives a BM, which it has to be his, but it's owned by the bank?
Yes.
So
what happened?
Well, so when I started in business, you must understand it's a long story, but make it short. I go to Standard Bank. I say, I need to buy this car, blah, 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 BMW 740. They say, give us your numbers. I give them the numbers. They say, you're cool. We'll give you the money to buy the car. They, of course, finance it. And business doesn't really become as good as I thought it would. After like 6-7 months, I don't pay. First month, I don't pay. Second month, I don't pay. Third month, and they start calling. The call starts coming. Yes. And, eventually I said to this lady, no matter how many times you call me, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. So save your phone and don't call me. The day I have the money, I'll come and pay. I'm still in South Africa, But you will not find the car. But I'm still in South Africa, but the car you're not going to find it. So don't call me. The day I have money, I'll come and pay. Yeah. So, God is God. He does his things in his own way. And I think on the 5th month, I had a big contract come through, and I had money. So what I did is I then went to Standard Bank. I think I was owing, I don't know, about 80-something on the car or something. And I requested them to give me 80-something thousand in 10 rands notes. Pack them in a bag and whatever. And I went back to go and pay the car. I actually wanted the person who was calling me. I said, you must count this money and know that I don't owe you anymore. So don't call me ever again. So things like this happen. It's kind of funny. And guys will learn, we will fail. And I say, you've got to fail as quick as possible and fail forward. Now, one of the most devastating failures that I've ever, gone through. And, one of the things, because I travel so much and I meet so many people and I learn so much, and I come to South Africa and I think I'm going to do this amazing thing, and people, what are you doing? And then you fail. So in 2015, I was in the US, speaking at a conference in New York. Now, if you've been to New York, Manhattan, there's 21 bridges that get into Manhattan. The main one is the Brooklyn Bridge. So the conference I was speaking at, the CEO was out of town and he got stuck in the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, I was going to speak after him, but I needed to go to Philadelphia after that. So I was going to speak, get onto a train, go to Philadelphia, do my thing, and then come back to New York. This guy couldn't make it on time. So he became late. And I realized I'm not going to make Philadelphia at the time that I wanted to. I called the guys in Philly. I said, guys, time, this is the age. They said, no, don't stress. We'll shift our things. So when he came, huffing and puffing, he did this keynote. I did my keynote. I ran, cab, then I went to Philadelphia. But something knocked me. So there was this thing that bothered me. And what bothered me, it was almost like a weight in my head. The weight was space and time. So I thought, space and time, what is this space and time thing? So eventually, I asked myself, why should conferences be bound by space and time? So it means, why should a human being come physically to a place for them to engage with people? Why can't this thing be done using technology? So, and this thing drove me crazy for 6 months. I meditated until I did not know what the solution was.
2016.
2016. And then one day I'm sleeping and I had this epiphany, and I wake up and I started writing in a flip chart and then I went to bed. I'm not sure what I wrote in the flip chart and I went to bed. And I woke up in the morning and I went to work. I was going somewhere. And suddenly this voice was gone. But when I came back to my home, I had my home office. And I saw this thing on the flip chart. I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. So now I came back, I wrote this thing. So basically what I did, which was very funny, I conceptualized something like Zoom before Zoom, happened. So I conceptualized a thing called global speakers, a thing called GCTV, Global Conference Television. So the idea was, instead of conferences being completely physical, let's make them hybrid. Some people can go online, some people can be in the same venue and stuff like that. And at that time, there was no technology like that. So I was doing work for the French Airbus company. I went to the CEO of Airbus and I told him this idea. He didn't get it. I wanted them to give me part of their CSI budget to do this thing. And eventually they gave me a bit of money. I then searched for investors, both local and international. And we put in a sizable amount of money. Then I went to the US for the month, looking for companies who can write me technology, who can code it for me, who can do this kind of things. And I found quite a few of them. At that time, there were 3. There was one called Move, JWP, Pair, and then another one I forgot. And they liked the concept. But the cost of doing that was going to be about $10.5 million to get this thing going. And I mean, it's like over 100 million rands. So I raised about, it's crazy, I raised about $2 to $3 million,
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. Trying to get this thing. And by the way, you say to people, invest, you're going to get a return, blah, 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 whatever. And people see this thing as a very futuristic thing, So we set it up and we wrote the code. I could create a code and I got guys to code it. And we started running a pilot. But because of the bandwidth in South Africa, it was crazy, man. I mean, the bandwidth that we used to take with that, it was crazy. And we started bleeding money like crazy, And speakers in South Africa, we did not have enough that had good content. The conference organizers in the country they just thought, I'm going to destroy the conference industry. This thing's not going to work and whatever. So we pushed. 2018, late 2018, I have lost all the money from the investors. That's almost 40 million, which was not mine, And this thing was not happening. We had a studio built in Johannesburg, in the city of Johannesburg, in Commissioner Street. We took this big place and turned it into a studio. Remember the studio, yeah.
Yes.
Had a beautiful studio, cameras were the best, 4K cameras. Yes. I mean, the internet we were bleeding was crazy. And 2018, I just called all the investors and said, ladies and gentlemen, I've got bad news, like super bad news. This thing just can't work in South Africa. South Africa is not ready for it. We just don't understand it. The best way this thing can work is in the US. So I need the same amount of money now to go and live in the US for 6 months and get this thing going.
So this was like a 40 million.
Yeah, down the line.
This thing.
Like gone, yeah. So, hey man, meetings, and people said, no, it can't happen.
So I suspect there were no taxi drivers in the...
Do you think I'd be here?
You are investors.
Give about mints. Those guys don't play.
Okay.
So by 2018, and I went and I tried second round of raising money, couldn't get it, went to the US, met 2 or 3 guys who sort of understood what I was doing. But again, the loss was just too big. And I think December 2018, I decided that's it. This is my biggest dream has gone into smoke. Now remember, I'm running my own business and I'm trying to build this thing. So I'm torn between two worlds. I've got to show up for my customers, I've got to show up, then I've got to run this, then I've got a team of camera guys, they live in a different world, IT guys. I mean, coders are just crazy people. So it was the biggest thing. And now here's the thing. When lockdown happened, guess what happened?
Yes.
The same guys started calling me and said, "Oh my God, is this what you wanted to do, the Zoom?" I said, "Yes, but we're late. We're late, guys. Had you given me that money, we were too early.
Yeah.
Had they given me the second funding that I wanted, I promise you, there'll be a different story today." So that was one of the...
Sure.
We still have the platform. It's there. It's frustrating me. People say, "Oh, you can do something different with it." I say, it has broken my heart like a woman who broke your heart that you love,
So how do you get to... So how do you get to... This is not working. Like, you know what? I've tried this thing. It's not... What was it?
We're bleeding money because the coding is expensive. People must understand. Coding is expensive. It's all, bandwidth. And we didn't have... I'm talking about early times. We didn't have coders in South Africa. We had guys coding in the US, guys in Netherlands, we had guys in India. And we had 2 or 3 local guys trying to code with these guys. It was a nightmare. And the guys would deliver code in India, but for it to be transferred into South Africa, the bandwidth was not happening. It was just one of those, you are 5 years ahead of time and you don't have an infrastructure to back this big vision. But I can promise you, had I stayed in the US, it could have been a different story.
So if you were to connect the dots backwards, what have you learned from this whole experience? If you were to advise me or anyone else, what lesson would it be?
Don't be too married to your country. Probably your great big idea is going to work in a different country.
Amen.
Yeah.
So be bold to understand that sometimes you've got to pack up and leave and go to a country or a place where they get you, where they understand where you're going, and maybe that's where you need to go and set up. You're not going to be successful in Limpopo, leave Limpopo.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be successful in Soweto, leave Soweto.
Yeah.
You're not going to be successful in South Africa, pack up and leave. And I think as South Africans, we're too afraid to really venture out of the country. We venture around to Durban, to Eastern Cape, to Cape Town, but we don't leave this country. And for me, if I was in the US, it could have worked.
So is it like an Elon Musk thing?
Yes.
It's not going to work here?
Yes, I think, unfortunately, I believe that a lot of young, talented South Africans are going to go through the same thing that I went through, some of them even worse, because we're too slow to adopt to technology. But there's this tenor guy, the guy who sings tenor, Pakis.
Yes.
I think in whatever year, I was speaking at a conference, educational conference, and I told them about virtual learning, I told them about virtual teaching that time, and they didn't hear what I was saying. And now, now they're talking about it now, and I'm like, oh, really? Now there's AI. Now I'm in AI. I'm immersed in the world of AI. We're doing things amazing. I've got my guy here, who's my head of digital. And still you get into boardrooms or you get into places where the CTOs who speak AI, they think like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So we have to... I think South Africa, we're quite slow.
Does it have to do with travel? Like you have traveled you have been exposed?
Yeah, I think South Africans are not well traveled. Like Devon, South Africans are going to July Devon handicap. And if you even ask them to keep everything, they will not tell you. Because they go for 10-10, they have fun, they whatever.
See, Pure Masisa, when you were sitting on your chair, he says, South Africans, when they have money, the poor ones, when they say they go to Dubai.
Yeah.
And the ones who've got money, they go to New York. So you get to see, the ones that go to Dubai is like they took their last money.
Yeah, well, it's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Thank you so much.
But I think South Africans, we really have to wake up. We must see the world for what it is.
Yeah.
The world is massive, it's big.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be afraid to go and pack and go and venture somewhere. But still come back and deliver the skills that you pick up from the world to make this country work. Because we've got beautiful people in this country. We've got talented young people. But unfortunately, it's not opening up. It's not happening. We're not fast enough. We're not adapting to technology. And that's the challenge we're facing.
Mr. Selekane, if there was enough time.
If there was.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Can you give me a round of applause?